celebrating 15 years of this beloved foolery.
You know the difference between Jeff and Jeremy and a U.S. savings bond? One of them eventually matures and earns money. Jeff is such a douchebag.
Jeff and Jeremy in the morning on 93.3 KZOZ.
Yeah.
So Gavin Newsom apparently has told water agencies to be a little bit more aggressive as we get into our drought season now. I know Pismo Beach has already announced that they're tightening up on water restrictions. They've got a window between 8 and 6 that they don't want you watering outdoors. They'd like you to water before or after that time to probably help evaporation and those types of things.
Yeah, it's a waste of water to water your lawn during the middle part of the day.
I was always kind of like the end of the day, like 10, 11 o'clock at night. Like I figured after that, let it soak in all night. Let those, the water get down in the roots.
It's probably good.
Some people like to do it in the morning.
I've got it going at 6 right now. What are the stipulations?
You're good. 6 a.m. or 6 p.m.?
6 p.m.
Either way, you're good. The window...
6 and 6.
Well,
I have it 6 and 6.
You don't live in Pismo. You live in Paso. There's no restrictions in Paso?
Not that I know of. I'm sure somebody can help out and correct us.
That doesn't work when you get the ticket, by the way. Oh, I didn't know about this.
805-543-3693. You get a ticket, who reports you?
Yeah, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. is the window they do not want you watering in Pismo Beach. I'm not sure why Pismo. I'll tell you why Pismo is. Have you seen Lopez? They shut down the ramp. You can't even launch a boat there anymore. Lopez is down to like 28%, I think.
But, I mean, come on. If you take a look at North County, I mean, it's obvious that we need to hold on to our water everywhere around here.
We've heard some horrible stories over the past decade, especially back when we had that mega drought that went on for like 8 years or whatever it was, and people that literally their wells dried up, all their land, their house, it was no good. They just walked away. There was nothing they could do. They couldn't sell it, nothing. There's no water there. How can you live there? Some people were trucking water in, doing the best they could. Here's my thing. When I lived in the 5 cities, because we always got hit hard.
Imagine how much it's going to cost you to truck water in now.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, at Lopez, the dam, they have to release so much water into that creek for ag purposes. And I've always thought, well, as somebody who likes to use the lake, why do we have to do that? Why can't we just shut that off?
No, this state mismanages the way that they deal with the water for environmental purposes. Ag purposes, I understand, okay? But the environmental purposes is what is like, okay, what do you do?
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's so much. You cannot tell me with the snowfall that we had this past winter that the Sierras, now I'm not talking about around here because we don't get any of our water from the Sierras, but if there was a lot of water in the state, you could maybe move some water around.
They don't have the infrastructure for that, though. They need to build it.
But you could get the infrastructure for that if you whatever your
pulling water out of the
desires
northwest and flowing south. I mean, gravity. I don't know. There's got to be a way to start pipelines.
I don't think that's how gravity works. Just because you can see it on a map that way,
you see it going south. No, but they could put pipelines in to push this water down.
There's ways that you could accomplish it, but it's much better to paint this picture of doom and gloom and make it your fault. Yeah. It is your fault for using water, as opposed to their fault for mismanaging the water, and that's where I have a problem.
So I know Lake Mead has a water project that they're working on, getting, I think, water coming from the Midwest but I don't have all the numbers on that right now. But what I wanted to bring up today with this news that I heard Scott bring up yesterday on the show, and we never got to it, was, do you ever feel like you're going to be reported by your neighbors for washing your car, spraying your driveway down? Because my wife always has this deal at our house in AG. She's always out there spraying down, because it's all concrete. You've been to my house. It's actually really nice. They did a nice job. We didn't do it, but they had concrete slab all the way around the house, the driveway. There's a slab there where we had our patio right over the grass. And then the whole thing is done very well, but you have to wash that down. It gets dirty. I get my pressure washer out, and I've got one of those pressure washer. I call it the concrete polisher, and you hook your wand into it, and it's got this sprayer that goes and it cleans concrete. And I do it all the time because I like clean concrete. I like a clean driveway. I like a clean car. But when there's all these water restrictions, I feel like I have to do it late at night or very early in the morning, because I kind of lived in a fishbowl where I was at. because I was on a hillside and there was people above us, and I was always ready for them to turn us in. I had condos on the other side of me that they didn't like me because I would pull my boat out of the garage in the morning, and my motorized dolly makes a lot of noise. We talked about that. You know, it's noisy. They would turn me in because they didn't even have a yard. They just had like a patio.
So they were sad.
To run around.
They
make
were
better choices in life. Work harder, do better. I don't know what to tell you.
Would take advantage. Those people would take advantage of any opportunity they had to turn you in because you were the annoying neighbor with the boat dolly at 6 o'clock in the morning making all kinds of noise.
Right.
You might be contributing to the problem.
I had a driveway. I had a yard. They did it. They had a patio
Lopez.
because they lived in a condo.
I'll tell you this. Okay, I was listening to a podcast. One of the hosts lived in Marin County, and they were talking about water shortage, and they've started doing this up in Marin County, cutting back on the water usage and all that stuff. And one of the gals, she's like, yeah, the other day I was out in my driveway washing my car because recession and inflation, I can't afford to go to the car wash anymore, so I'm doing it myself at home. And this neighbor come walking by, and she says, haven't you heard that there's been a water shortage?
Oh, spray her with the hose! I hope she sprayed her right in the face.
Her response to that was, oh, no, it's fine. The water's recycled. And then the lady's like, oh, okay. And then just walked on.
Yeah! Yeah, you mind your own business, you smelly neighbor.
Isn't all water recycled? So you could tell them that I'm using recycled water.
Oh, another good point. Water is recycled. Yes, it is.
That's
what you need to tell. Oh, it's okay. It's all recycled. Unless you have sprinklers with water running down the street because you haven't dialed your crap in. You have, that's the only reason I would say, hey, man, I wouldn't even say anything.
I've got my Sean at Premier Irrigation. He says, he's Irish, so he says it like, hey, you need to fix your sprinklers in the front. And like, well, what do you mean? He's like, they just spray everywhere. They're spraying everywhere. You got to get the water conserving sprinklers. And he said,
isn't that his job?
Well, yeah, but it's my job to pay him the money for it. And I'm like, well, what's wrong with the sprinklers that I have? And, and he says, because, when we have water shortages, your neighbors are going to get all mad. And I was like, oh, that's a good point. He's like, in the backyard, they wouldn't even be able to see it. But in the front, they're going to all see it.
How do you not just laugh every time you have a conversation with him?
I do.
Hey, do you want to come in and have some Lucky Charms?
He's like full-time sprinkler guy, part-time goat guy. So like he like raises goats. So my dogs go crazy when he comes over. And so like work on the sprinklers. Like glued to his pants, man. He's like, I'm sorry, I raise goats.
That's pretty funny. Have you ever been reported by your neighbors for water usage? That's what the governor wants your neighbors to do. Turn them in. Let's be more aggressive. 805-543-3693. You can weigh in.
Spending 4 hours in a box together every day can make you say crazy things.
Don't go crazy.
Jeff and Jeremy in the morning.
The bureaucracy's extended to neighbors now. Like neighbors support bureaucracies because now a government that is inefficient at managing its water resources has made it your fault for using water. Now they are calling on your neighbors to report you by making these, the fear-mongering, we're going to run out of water.
Well, there is a chance, right? I mean, until you actually use the water.
Yeah, there's a chance, but
it affects you.
Why is it your fault?
It affects me because I can't take my boat to Lopez. I can't launch it. So now that affects me. That doesn't affect you like it affects me because that is something I would do if not once or twice a week, right? Now I can't. I have to go to other places and do it. So then it affects me a little bit more. I understand that. But if you're not affected by it, you don't really feel it. You just keep hearing these things coming down. We're low on water. We're low on water. But why aren't we ever doing anything
everybody's
about
gonna have
it?
to live in a pod without a yard.
Why are we not doing anything about it? Why can't we change? I mean, And I brought up the
there's money to be
desalination
made there,
plants.
Jeremy.
The oceans are rising. We got all this water
Sure.
we could be taking and using. And what was
There's
it? A
no-
$2.5 million project to get a pipeline up to Lopez to feed from the.
Jeremy. If the pandemic has taught us anything, there's no profit in solutions. There's only profit in maintenance.
There's only profit
and
in talk.
Bureaucracy.
In talk. That's it. It's all talk.
Bureaucracy. Yeah, that's what bureaucracy
That's what
is.
politicians
It's
do.
talk.
They talk about everything. Well, yesterday we had Joe Biden talking about marriages between a man and a woman. I bet he doesn't feel that way today. But you know what? That was enough that talk was enough. And now what's today's talk? It's all talk. I'm tired.
Well, you heard
of
what
talk.
you heard
ready to get
yesterday's talk
something
was.
done.
Yesterday's talk was the current petroleum crisis, global petroleum crisis is good because it's moving us towards electrical vehicles quicker. But
Yeah.
that's going to really help out.
You know how much
all the
carbon
people-
emissions? Has anybody ever looked into that? That it takes to get one battery made, let
That
alone
message,
hundreds
that
of
message is going to help
thousands?
out everybody with a D next to their name come November, isn't it?
What do you think they mine all these minerals with? What do you think that goes? And then they ship them, and then
Electricity,
and then they
Jeremy.
have to
It's
be
just
replaced,
magic.
and then they have waste, and then what do you do? But nobody has any solutions. It's all
Talking in circles. We're asking a poll question today. This is the SurfNet Communications poll question. If you see your neighbors wasting water, what will you do? You have two options on this one. Because Jeremy loves the two-option poll. Turn them into the authorities.
turn them in.
Or nothing, because it's none of my business.
Well, what about
Those
just
are-
whoa? Let's add
those
a
are your
third
two
option.
options.
Can we add a third option?
No.
Are you open to adding a third option that I think is very
I'm open
reasonable?
to a discussion, yeah, because I guess we're bureaucrats to some
Okay.
extent, too,
So
because we're going to have
why can
conversations
we not
for profit.
add? Just go over and talk to them about it. I mean, maybe knock on their door. Hey,
That would require meeting your neighbors. You don't want to do that.
and
Californians.
How do you come
I mean,
across without being
Californians
a
don't want to meet
jerk
their neighbors.
or bossy or controlling or nosy? You know,
Oh, I'm
nosy's the
sorry.
biggest
If somebody comes over to me and I'm wasting water, and they're like, the county has these great low flow nozzles for your hose and your sprinkler systems. I am going to fire that person out onto the street. So that is not an option. No, that is not an option in the poll question.
what if you
Do
went
not-
over and said, "Let
do
me be
not
your
come
neighbor.
over
Let
and
me be
talk
your
down
neighbor.
to me.
Let me
If
be
you
your-
come
yeah,
over and
yeah,
talk
well.
down to me, I'd rather you call the damn authorities
Yeah,
at that
no,
point.
exactly. Otherwise, you would rather call the authorities too. You have a bat upside your head. But what? Okay, here I am. I'm your
I'm
neighbor.
going to go try to educate my neighbor on how to more wisely use water. I'll never forget the time that my daughter was running around at a zoo in the Pacific Northwest, and this lady comes up to my wife and she says, "Hi, your daughter is so beautiful." And my wife's like, "Oh, thanks. Thanks a lot." And she goes, "By the way, I've noticed she's getting a little red. I have some sunscreen if you want it." The rage that came over my wife at that time.
Oh, really? She didn't take it as, "Oh, thank you." That was very
Yeah,
nice of you.
I was like, no. I mean, the kid was running around. That's why her face was bright red, because she was chasing her cousins. But it was just funny because
You're going to tell me how to
that
raise my
person,
kid.
that Seattleite, and I do see a Seattleite like it's a bad word, because it is a bad word. Hate you, Seattleites. That's, even though I was one once.
And your
You
family lives there.
Seattleites,
And your family lives there.
you Seattleites think you're going to change everybody with your education.
What education? What do they have educated over anybody else? They're not educated.
Sunscreen.
They got their head up their ass. The problem is they don't even go outside. Listen, Seattle
It's a
people
nice
are,
place, Jeremy. I mean,
Well,
have you
for 3
seen-
months a year, it's a nice place. Other than
No,
that,
I'm
it's
not
a
talking
cold,
about the
wet-
weather. I'm not talking about the weather. When the weather gets nice, it turns into a less nice place, because then people have to come out of the tents that are living underneath the freeway.
Oh,
with
yeah,
their,
exactly.
AK-47s,
Yeah.
even though,
Seattle's messed up, man.
They're-
That
they're
homeless
big on
population is so bad.
gun control.
But anyways, back to this. Here we go. That's me knocking on your door. I'm your neighbor. You open the door and say,
Hey,
"Hey, what's up, Jeff?
Matt.
How you doing, man?
hey, Matt.
Hey, oh, I'm Matt. Okay, am I Matt Cross?
No, my next door
I feel
neighbor's
like Matt
name's
Cross would be somebody who might tell you what's going
I
on.
have one male neighbor, and that's next door, and his name's Matt. So
Oh,
that's
okay.
what-
Sorry,
you're
Matt.
gonna do the role of Matt.
But he's a big guy. So it's like, "Hey, Jeff, dude, your sprinklers are spraying down the street, and Gladys next door has been eyeing it. I think she might turn you in. I guess there's some kind of water restriction.
Oh, pass the blame, huh, Matt? Is that what you're doing? Because it sounds like Gladys isn't coming over here and talking to me about it.
I
It
know.
sounds like
I'm just
Matt
saying,
is coming over
I'm
here and
just
talking
saying,
to me about it.
I heard she called in, Rufus over there, 2 houses down. Russ.
Why do I live?
Down
Why do
there,
we live in a
2
neighborhood
houses
of dog houses? I mean, what the hell, Matt?
Yeah, Russell down the street, a couple houses down. I heard she called him in. I don't know if it's true or not, but I guess you can get fined for it. I just thought I'd let you know. Just trying to be a good neighbor. You want to come over and have a beer sometime? Let me know.
No, that's a waste of water.
See, that's how you handle it, though. That's how you do it. I think that's how you do it.
Blame somebody else.
So I think we
when
should
I go
add,
to Gladys,
talk to
and
your
when
neighbor.
if I have a temper and I go to Gladys, I'm like, "Hey, Gladys, what the hell's your problem with my water?" And she's like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." Then what? Then what?
Then we'll have a beer and talk about it. I think you should add it. Talk to your neighbor.
Your options, SurfNet Communications poll question. If you see your neighbors wasting water, what will you do? Turn them into the authorities because we are in an authoritarian state, or do nothing because it is none of your business. Make sure to log on KZOZ.com. Cast your vote. It's your civic duty.
Careful. You don't want to learn from this. Jeff and Jeremy in the morning on 93.3 KZOZ.
It's Dumbass of the Day now, brought to you by California Diesel and RV. They work on pickup trucks, RVs, motorhomes, and they can work on your fleet vehicles as well. If it runs on diesel, they're your people, but they fix more than just diesel engines. They can work on just about anything. Stop by and see them. 1189 Pike Lane in Oceano.
How pathetic can some people be?
I don't like automatic paper towel dispensers because they don't tell you when they're not working. So I just end up in the bathroom looking like a magician for a few minutes. What do I have to do to get a piece of paper? An automatic paper towel dispenser is a solution to something that was never a problem. Hey, you know how people get a paper towel when they need one? Yeah, they just take their hand and pull it down and they have it. Yeah, we're going to change that. What are you going to do? We're going to use lasers and make it complicated. That seems kind of unnecessary. Yeah, very. That's the idea. You got a lot of work to do. Yeah, because we're also working on the sinks, too. Oh, yeah? What are you going to do? You going to fix, like, the hot and cold handles? No, we're going to get rid of those. But then they won't be able to adjust the water temperature. F*** them. We're going to finish up with the toilets. Oh, yeah? What are you doing there? You know when someone's sitting on the toilet and they move like a millimeter? Yeah? Yeah, we were thinking of having a roaring rapid explode under their ass.
Dumbass of the Day. 93.3 KZOZ.
We've all been in a situation where we're trying to get out of town for the weekend.
What?
Where we're trying to...
Nobody vacations as much as you do, okay?
No, you do it. Come on, especially when you were younger. Come on, you would do shortcuts all the time. Get out of work. You would try to get out of work so you could leave early. You would call in sick. You would say something broke on your car.
Oh, yeah, once.
Oh, people run out of gas.
The best was once the place I was working, they allowed us to do shift swaps as long as, and both parties were cool and somebody was there to cover the shift. It was fine. I needed to get out of town. So I did shift swaps to where I worked 3 consecutive 8-hour shifts. You want to do the math on that real quick?
That's 24 hours.
Worked 24 hours straight. Big part of this was driving cars. Boss came in the next day. I was like, what are you doing here? I was like, I shift swap with so-and-so. The thing is, they didn't know that I also worked the overnight as well. Man, I was like drunk loopy at about the 22nd hour. I'm like driving cars around.
Oh, it's the worst.
I wanted to get out of town.
I feel like you're really good for the first 20 to 21 hours. You're not too bad. But after that 21st hour hits, things go downhill pretty quick.
It was awesome because the trip that I was going on was a car trip from Seattle to Lake Tahoe. And I slept for 12 hours. After the first 12 hours of that trip, it was perfect. So
this guy...
wake up and 3 hours later, you're in Tahoe.
This guy, Kyle, my tia, was trying to get out of town early. He was trying to get done with work early. It was a Friday. And he had to drop a load off at a facility, and he decided, well, what I could do instead is I could drop it off here, and nobody has to know that I dropped 6,000 liters of human waste into a canal. I'll just do that real quick, and then I don't have to drive the 35 minutes continuing past where I'm at to the facility to dump the human waste, where it should be dumped, and then another 35 minutes back to where I'm at, and then another 40 minutes back to my house. So he was going to save a lot of time just by dumping in this canal. He got caught. The canal is full of different species of fish and birds, and he told the judge that his truck sprung a leak. He had no choice but to release the wastewater.
The old Dave Matthews tour bus excuse.
Yeah, it's like, but I don't know. The prosecutor had some kind of evidence that he unscrewed a cap and opened a valve all the way. I don't know if it's maybe a computer that's in the program of the truck or whatever. He's now looking at several months in prison. All because he wanted to start his weekend a little bit early. Oh, they'll never know. We'll just dump all this wastewater in the creek. God, that sucks. We don't even have creeks around there because, if there was, they would they don't flow very well.
Water shortage.
One downtown, right? Oh,
water shortage. We might take it.
Yeah.
We might take it now.
Yeah, the water shortage. We were talking about that.
Might add to the water table.
The poor fish. You know what they should sentence him is he should have to swim for like 30 minutes in a pool.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
I love
that could
that
kill him,
idea.
though. That could kill him.
Why could it kill him?
Well, because infection. I mean, there's all kinds of disease and things that form in human waste. All these people's human waste.
What about those poor people that have to come across that creek?
Yeah. All the fish and the birds that live in
you're kind of a
that
hypocrite on this because I've known you to poop and pee in a river before. So
Hey, I've never pooped in a river, ever. Ever. Never pooped.
you never turned around to the back current and get the natural bidet going?
No, I have a friend that does that. But that's one person in, 64,000 cubic feet per second of water going through.
I mean, I'm sure the animals are doing it too, right?
But when you dump an entire semi-truck into a small creek canal, you're a real prick. Congratulations, Kyle Mattia.
You take your water serious. That's where your fish live, right?
Yeah, you're Jeff and Jeremy's.
Dumbass of the day. It's Jeff and Jeremy in the morning on 93.3 KZOZ. Subscribe to the Jeff and Jeremy podcast now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, and YouTube. It's your Central Coast commute-friendly podcast.